About Lewis Hamilton, right? And Nicole, well, I'm not going to say her surname because I don't want to make a huge mistake. So we're looking at their SYNASTRY and see why they broke up, because that's the curiosity of this research, just to see what was happening, regarding the period where they finally ended their relationship. Remember, they started their relationship in 2007 and they ended their relationship in 2015. Well, they did have an on-off thing going on, and yes, it's because he's certain he's trying her get to, anytime get to and certain make a connection that's gonna be on off, back together. We're not back together. We're not together anymore. Oh, we're back together. Oh, no, not anymore. Oh, now we are. Oh, not anymore. Right? So for them, it happened for all this time, almost 10 years. Right? So for 8 years, they did this up and down of being together, breaking up, being together. And so when I looked at the SYNASTRY, I found that at this time, like at their breakup at 2015, right, his progressing Venus was opposite his own natal Venus at this time, which is, by the way, with Mars, right? And it was also conjunct with her natal Saturn, but her natal Saturn is with Mars, so there's a Mars-Venus conjunction here. Like I always tell you guys, Mars and Venus, when they meet together, they're so happy to be together. There's this vibrations going up in the air, sparks flying up in the air. But as the time goes, there are arguments. There's a conflict that just keeps coming up and up and up, because Mars and Venus are not friendly to each other. So initially, because of that, enemy vibe, they may find curiosity in each other, but with time, then that animosity comes out. Alright, so in their case at this time, his progressing Venus was, conjunct with her natal Saturn and Mars and her Mars, right? So they do have a beautiful conjunction of of their, not a conjunction, an opposition of their Mars. I like Mars opposite Mars. I like a Mars conjunct Mars. With the difference is that with the opposition here, their arguments, they get to they get to disappear so quickly, right? Because you're able to calm each other down. So when the other one is up, the other one is low. When the other one is low, the other one is up, because of the different energies. Whereas when it's in a conjunction, if you are angry, then you are both angry for sure, and to the highest of the highest anger. So that's the difference. So with the fiery placements like this, you would prefer that you have a different opposite, like a different energy, like a fire to air, water to earth, right? So that you can balance that energy of Mars. So they did have that opposition, which helped them, balance their emotions and, the fire in their Mars energy. However, because there is, her Saturn here, Saturn and Mars are not friends at all. So anytime when there's Saturn and Mars, there's always going to be tension. But similarly, you'd prefer that they are opposite to each other, like Saturn and Mars. They work very best like this. I'm not using their times, which are listed on the internet, by the way, because I don't trust that they are credible those times, because even the website where the celebrities' times are listed is also noted as if it's not a credible time given, so I'm not using that. But but I don't need that to make predictions in any case, so it doesn't matter. C'est pas grave. Right. So when I'm looking at the synastry, right, they have a moon and sun conjunction, which is always beautiful because they give each other support. Whereby there's moon and sun, there's always support given, there's always respect given. That is very important. Respect given, and also just a natural understanding of where the direction is, natural lead, follow, ambiance, right? Her sun is conjunct with Jupiter and Lilith, of course, which is obviously conjunct now with his moon. And moon and Jupiter also work very wonderfully together. Lots of support, lots of agreeable nature between the two people, right? And now adding her Lilith with his moon, this is where it becomes a little bit tricky, because the Lilith, when it comes to moon, it could tell that maybe there could have been a loss of a child, or maybe one needed to have a child, maybe because she's the Lilith in her case, maybe she could have wanted to have a child with him, so as to form a bondage with him, and or maybe she did have a pregnancy by him, and the pregnancy didn't materialize into a fruitful bearing, right? So there could have been an ambience of that. I do see that his Pluto is conjunct with her Uranus. I love when this happens, because it means that the transformations that are happening, that he would bring with, and the power struggles that he would bring with, she would be able to be innovative to combat that, or to help him transform, or to deal with everything that would come through him, right? So Uranus can be very unpredictable as well, so it goes along well with sudden changes of Pluto, because Pluto is also coming from the 8th house of sudden things, so it works well. No surprises much, right? I do have his Saturn, which is also with Ketu and Uranus, conjunct with this Neptune, right? Saturn doesn't like Neptune, because Neptune brings confusion, and Saturn likes clarity, likes things to be done in orderly form, no chaos around, and Neptune brings chaos, brings those illusions, and which do not work well with the practicality of Saturn. So Saturn rejects that. So basically there was a dreamy nature that she was bringing around his job, and which he really didn't appreciate, or maybe because maybe some of her artistic requirements, they were like clouding his work environment. And I do have his Chiron and Rahu, opposite than Neptune, obviously, because Ketu and Rahu are always in the opposite directions together. But what I'm interested mostly about is that his Mars and Venus, which are in a conjunction, are opposite her Saturn and Mars. This is where the problems were coming from, because as we can recall, they had an on and off relationship for a long time, right? And anytime when you get Venus and Mars conjunction, you will have problems, as I already explained, right? And anytime when you have Mars and Saturn, you will have problems, as I already explained again, right? So now they have a Sun opposite Sun thing here. This one is an opposition that is good and bad at the same time. Why? Because when Sun is against Sun, this is my light, facing your light facing my light. However, because this is light, I want my light to be brighter than yours. You want your light to be brighter than mine. So there was a clash of egos here, and both of them, they were big stars, huge stars. So there was like an ambiance of your sun is overshadowing my light. No, your sun is overshadowing my light. So there was that thing, clash of egos. But at the same time, because this is light, together we create the biggest light. Together we create the biggest resources. Together we create this power couple. Together we create this boom light, when people are looking at us. So this is the positivity that it brings. And it also means that, they were able to feed each other when it comes to healing each other, because I'm light, you light. So if your light is starting to dim a bit, I will be able to shine mine over to your side, right? However, the thing that I've seen with sun and opposite sun, except the clash of egos, is also that there's a tendency to undo what the other one is trying to do, and it's happening subconsciously. It's like if the other one is buying a gift and the other one will return the gift, there's something like some sort of like undoing what the other one is doing, and it's not done purposely. It is done because of it's just the ambiance of the opposition, whereby you're pulling to your side, I'm pulling to my side, and because you're trying to pull to your side, you don't see that you're taking much of my energy, or you're pulling away from my energy, right? So there's that natural thing that comes with our opposition, which is a negative. However, in terms of motivating each other, they would be, because the other one would be able to see what the other one is not seeing. If you are in the West, I'm in the East, I can tell you the news that are happening in the East and that you can't see, and you can tell me the news that are happening in the West that I can't see, and together we can be informed. Together we can have the same vision, because you see what I don't see, I see what you don't see, right? So with an opposition, I always say, because they also have an opposition of Jupiter and Jupiter, again, opposition of beliefs, how to do things, how to go about things, how to explore. And you can tell here, even with the traveling, they were having problems because maybe to their schedules, they were having problems when they needed to take a vacation, when they needed to visit places. Something was not always meeting up because of the opposition. You are over there, I am over here. That's what the opposition is saying. So what I advise with oppositions is that always find the middle ground, okay, which they managed to do for 8 years. So they did find the middle ground, which balanced these oppositions that they have. They have lots of oppositions, and some we're not going to get into, but they had lots of these. And this is the solution. Find a middle ground. Find a compromising position where both of you can feel like, okay, I gave out my 50% to be here, and you gave out your 50% to be here, and now we can meet here. Some things that you can also do is to find common activities together, is to find common people to talk to, a third party where it's necessary in terms of arguments and all of that. So this is the solution of opposition. But in general, they had lots of oppositions that they managed to try to work out. And of course, they took lots of breaks in their relationships. Also is another solution, like whereby you feel like it's too much, you can take a break. It's normal, right? They do have, however, a beautiful sextile. His moon is sextile her Saturn, right, which is causing a glue. That's why they were together for a long time, because Moon and Saturn, they want to be together to build a family, regardless of, this is happy time, it's not happy time, because Moon and Saturn, they're not going to bring a happy time. They just want to serve the obligations that they have to serve. One is of nurturing and the other one is of provision through responsibility, right? And status, of course. And I do have another sextile of their moons. His moon sextile her moon, which is with Chiron, by the way. And here you can see again support in terms of emotional understanding, mindset. They gelling well together. But however, she had so many times where her emotions were hurt, of course, because of the Chiron that is in the mixture here, right? His Saturn is trine her Venus. This is another good support in terms of love, affection, and resources as well. And you can see that they wanted to be committed, because Saturn and Venus together, they want to commit, and they don't just want to commit for just like Moon and Saturn. No, yeah, they want to commit out of love, out of dedication, out of affection, out of a real affection, right? And they do have another sextile of his Venus sextile her moon, which is also a beautiful nurturing affection love situation going on. They have plenty of squares, plenty of in conjunctions. Like, their relationship was so tough, but at the same time it had a stability given by these beautiful trines and sextiles here, right? However, they don't have a conjunction in terms of certain Venus, Moon, Saturn, which could have helped them maybe get to be married finally, right? However, as you can see, they were together, difficult relationship on and off, because his Saturn is trying her Ketu on and off, on and off, on and off, and on and off, right? And you can see that they had a difficulty regarding their schedules because of their professions, because his Saturn is where with her Saturn, which is with us, by the way. So a difficulty there, and they argued about this because there's the Mars. So they argued, there was a whole lot of stuff happening, right? And their Venuses are also in conjunct, which is not a good thing for a unionship. When your Venuses are not agreeing, it's not a good base at all, because there will be always a shortage of affection for one person, and the other one person feels like, oh my god, I have to change myself all the time to make you feel like you're loved, and it's difficult for me, or it's a burden, it's too much when it's like this. So that's why they broke up in 2015. And of course, I just went into the SYNASTRY, but I'm now interested to see what's happening in his life ever since. Let's do this. Of course, they broke up at 30 years old, so it's been 10 years since they've been together, and he's been linked to many women since then. Not a stable woman for a long time, because he's also been running his progressing Ketu, up until the age of 35. So since 30 years old, since the breakup, he continued to run his progressing Ketu, which is trine with his natal Venus, right? So ever since 35, then he's progressing Ketu left the Venus factor, which gives a break, gives him some room to breathe in terms of relationships, in terms of love, right? I do see that currently, like as in around age 40, he feels like everything is alleged. By the way, I forgot to say that everything is alleged from the get-go, from the time 000 timestamp until the end of the video, right? Alleged, synastry, astrology, alleged, right? But anyway, around now 40 years old, I can see from his chart that he wants to have a child now. He's ready now to have a child. He wants to have someone to leave his legacy to. He wants to have a child. His progressing Venus is conjunct with his moon currently, right? Meaning that he could also be feeling very close to his own mother at this time, or even discussing some of these things, with his mom. And it is also opposite his Jupiter, Sun, Mercury, right? And Neptune, of course. But with Jupiter also is a character of children, right? So with all these planets, pointing to having a child or wanting to have a child, you can really see that he's at the stage of nurturing at a peak of I would like to have a child, right now, and just be. And what I could see pertaining to last year around the age of 39, a lot of job disappointment regarding to his work, because he's progressing Venus at this time. Venus is money, right? We all know that. Venus is our comfort. It's not just women, but it's also our comfort. So when we're looking at such things, we also look at Venus to see how much money you're going to get. Are you going to get any money? This is where I look. I also use Venus to tell you that you could expect money at this time. You could expect, some comfort at this time in your situation, right? So it's not only just about love when it comes to Venus, but it is also about your comfort, your way of spending money, earning money, and all of that, right? So last year, his progressing Venus was conjunct with his Chiron. Chiron is wounding, and Rahu. So you can see that there was a lot of disappointment regarding his job, because this is opposite. He's certain is the character of profession, job, the signifier of jobs and profession, career. And his certain is Ketu and Uranus, meaning that his changes within his job were happening so fast and so suddenly because of the Uranus. So it's not like something he would have planned for 7 years to say at this time I'm going to change from Mercedes-Benz to whatever. So you can see that around this time there was a lot of sudden movements happening in his job, and he was getting hurt because it's with the Chiron, the disappointments, the wounding, all of that. So, and obviously he changed from Mercedes-Benz because there's Ketu here. Ketu is what letting go of something, right? And it is with certain his profession. So he let go of one job to start another job somewhere else, right? So we can see that clearly in the chart indicated, right? So what I can also see is that between the ages of 39 and 41, right, at this time, which is now, right, because he's 40 years old. Okay, so when he is around 41, he's getting to around he's 40, so it is now, since end of last year. So okay, so at this time he's going to be going through a lot of changes, within himself. And a lot of struggles as well, with people challenging him, lots of challenges, lots of male figures challenging him, giving him competition. He's in a competitive sport, but there is a power play here that I see because there's Pluto being involved in this dynamic this year, and is with Mars as well. So his progressing Mars is just directly on his Pluto, and we're going, even if we don't learn about it because it's going to be in Libra, so maybe we don't see it on the medium, but it's going to be something that is happening within his life, and just around his life. And when it comes to Like next year, starting from next year, like late next year, I would say, what's going to happen now? There would be a big event that would be maybe harmful to him, that he would need to take care of, because his progressing Mars would be with that get to end certain again. So something, regarding his job, danger regarding his job, or around his job. And again, as I said, his gateway Saturn is with Uranus, so it would be something fast, maybe his car malfunctions or something like that, right? So he would just need to be careful. The engineers would just need to make sure they look at everything. And again, this is synastry, alleged, nothing to be it's not it's occult science, right? So you just need to take care. And then I see that after 43 years old, there would be a huge celebration regarding his name. He would be celebrated bigger, because there's Jupiter here, there's Sun here. Like a lot of people will be talking about it, because Jupiter is celebration, Mercury is here, so the media is just talking about it. Everybody's just wow, they're celebrating his life, celebrating his achievements, celebrating just everything that he's touched, right? And everyone is actually it is in Sagittarius, opposite Gemini, so definitely we're gonna know about it. Everybody's gonna know about it in the public. So this would be after he turns 43, this huge event here just for next year. Just for next year, he would just need to be careful, make sure his car is good, when he's driving his car. The engineers make sure everything is good, because there's Uranus, which I don't like, and it's in Scorpio energy, which I don't like, and it's get to with Saturn, which I don't like. And anytime when Mars is with Saturn, something physical, like danger in a physical form, comes out, and which we don't like. So which is I'm sure his parents cover him in prayer, and I'm sure his friends cover him in prayer, right? So that's all. So anyway, their relationship was what I would say a normal relationship, whereby you have the good and the bad in the relationship, and whereby both people were working, trying to find a middle ground, because they have lots of challenges. Like their relationship, is full of challenges, right? But it is better than what I saw when it comes to Zendaya and Tom. It is much better. But they have a similar vibe of so many challenges. But with them, they had the glue, they had the moon sign, they had certain Venus trine, they have the sextiles of Venus and moon, and moon and moon. So they still had, some comfort, very, very comfortable aspects to keep the relationship going, regardless of everything that they were facing. And of course, they had the opposition of, his Venus and her Saturn, and they had the oppositions of Mars and Mars. So they had a stability ground that is needed to start a good relationship, a solid relationship. However, the problems are what I call normal in terms of relationships, right? Because we have three types of relationships. We have a relationship that is just horrible from the get-go. Everything in synastry is not working out, and there's a huge violence or fight or whatever, right? And then we have normal, where you have the balance. Like you have the argument here, you have the sacrifices here, you have the happy good times here, right? Which they did have. And then you have the easy aspects, whereby everything is just flowing. You can see that these people don't even argue. There's no need to argue, just go into the same direction, right? On that case, I'm gonna say happy into ciao.